Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
Okay. So Sanvi, you were able to create the database tables and all of that, right?
Yeah, I did it last time during the Zoom. So
During the Zoom. Okay. And Pari, you will catch up. So, okay. I'm recording this so others can review it later, but let me start sharing. Okay. So just to recap, we used FiftyIsNifty, but as I mentioned, any other hosting service can be used. Generally, there are only a couple, Infinity Free 000 web host, which gave a free version for maybe a year or so for playing around. GoDaddy, HostGator are better. They don't have ads and other things, but then they start charging $5 to $10 per month. So, but all of them give you a file manager. So let's actually go to home here. All hosting should give you a file manager where you can upload your files, and they should also give you MySQL databases. And every hosting allows you to do PHP. So those are minimum things which you will need to, if you want to create your own code to create a website. Additionally, WordPress should be there. WordPress is mostly 80–90% of the websites use WordPress. And as I had shown last time, WordPress behind the scenes uses MySQL database and PHP. So it's good to have those skills when you are creating the websites. Again, a recap. So we actually looked at File Manager, where it should, web hosting should tell you which directory to load your files. So for example, these guys are telling do not load here. So you should go to htdocs, and that's where you should be loading your files. And the other thing we saw is MySQL databases. When you click on that, you create a database. You should know your username, password, the host name, and the port. That's very important. And every hosting should give you phpMyAdmin, where you can actually go and create. So if you go to the databases, it gives you SQL where you can write MySQL query. You can create tables, insert data, search, and other things, and also insert data directly. So here are the tables we created for our volunteer management system. We created users, events, and volunteer signups. We just a recap also. So if we go to the structure of the table, we in database last session, we learned a database has a table. Table is similar to an Excel spreadsheet. It has columns, and one of the columns generally is marked as a primary key, and other columns are attributes are where you add more data. Each column has a type. It could be integer, varchar, and then if it's a varchar, you give what is the size of that. And this is more like an alphanumeric attribute. Integer is just numbers. And if it's a bigger set of data, you can use text. We also learned last time that, let's see the structure, that some of the keys can be foreign keys, right? So foreign keys are where one table's data is being based on the other table's data. So user ID and event ID are the IDs from events and users table. Right? Any questions on that? Is all those concepts clear? Okay, I take that as a yes. So in today's class, we will mainly go over some code, and I'll walk through the code, then I'll give you the code. You can copy it run it, your system should work. And then maybe I'll at the end explain to you what else you can do, additional things you can enhance your system. Mainly you will see in computer science, the best people who are have good skills is they learn looking at the code and trying it. That's the best way to learn. You get errors, you try to understand what the errors are, you troubleshoot those errors, and that's how you become better. So in college, that kind of expertise, experience, and skills are very useful. So anyway, today we already did recap, and then we'll do the code walkthrough of all the codes today. So first, let's see what is the final solution, right? So let's come back here. In your system, you should have, this is your website. So I'm going to go here, and after slash, I think you have put example and other things, right? So today I'm going to say register.php. And so at the end of today's class, this is what you should be able to do, right? This will allow you to create a simple volunteer management system where users can register their name, email, password, register. This will add a new record in the users table. Okay, then the user should be able to log in. So again, you see on the top there is a menu. Here is what is happening, and at the bottom there is a footer. So this footer is generally useful when you want to explain about your system. What is it? You can write copyright, etc. in there. But our second program would be login. So here the user can provide their user ID, password, and they should be able to click login. That does not write anywhere in our system. It just looks at the user table and makes sure that the user is logged in correctly. Third thing we'll be able to do at the end of session today is create a new event. So we'll give an event name, date, time, location of the event, description, and create event. This would write the data into our event table. Okay, and once the event is created, a user or a volunteer should be able to sign up for the event. So the user will be able to see what events are there and click on sign up. Now, if you see a user is already logged in and they are signing up for an event, right? In that case, the data should go into this table, volunteer sign up, because we know which user is logged in and which event they are signing up. Make sense? Okay. Also, I sent you, I think yesterday or day before, a link to learn CSS. CSS is cascading style sheets. What that allows you to do is give a good style to your website. Right now, we are doing very basic, and that's because we are learning. But if you go through that website, you can learn more on how to make beautiful websites using cascading style sheets. There are books also available on Amazon. If you're interested, you can search in Amazon. But generally, the free version of the website I gave you, that's very useful and good. Okay, so let's see how this is created and go through the code. We open here. So we will start with the header. The header is on the top here. We'll also talk about footer. That's another file. Footer is at the bottom here. Let me put it on the side. Okay, so that would be header and footer. We will, I think you guys had this last time, db.php is a file to connect to the database to do anything. We will also see a style sheet, styles.css. If you have gone through the website I sent you, maybe you know a little bit of style sheeting, but style sheet, but I'll walk you through some of the code there also. And once we know about those, then rest of the code is, there is a login, is here, there is a register, which is here, There is a create event is here, and then there is a sign up event, right? So that all this makes our code. And if we go back to our file manager, I have copied all those. So you have db.php here, header, footer. There should be a style sheet somewhere. No, I'm not seeing it, but it should be. And then there should be login, register, sign up events. Okay. So let's start with header.php, right? That's actually, let me keep it here. So header.php. I believe I have it open here. Now this part should be, if you had done a little bit of your homework and did some learning on your own, you should be able to understand this. It's an HTML file. There is no PHP in here. So if you remember from first session, HTML starts with HTML. It has a head. We close the head by head. Then we have a body. And then in here, we are not closing the body because after the header, we want to have something in the body and then the footer, right? So head, we talked about title, link, etc. Some of these things I added in here. They are not needed. Whatever we did in the first session, title, that's good enough for this to work. But as you start learning, and if you get someone's code which you are looking at or troubleshooting, you can look at that and see there are other things that can be added. But this is again part of this is your own learning through HTML, PHP, etc. You know now by now that any tag which you open, you should have a closing tag. In this case, it's not here. It will be in the footer. But here, if you see head, closing as head with a slash. Similarly, header is closing with a header with a slash. Okay. There are other tags. So there is a navigation tag. We are creating a navigation here. Nav, which closes as nav here. And we are creating a list. UL is a list. Within that, starting and ending list, there are multiple items in the list. Okay, so there is a list record which closes by /li list. Inside there, we are telling it this. I think you might have learned I think in the first session we did an image, right? So similarly, A is a href, which calls another program. In this case, it's going to call register.php, and the user will see register here. So when I click on this, it will actually go and call register.php. Similarly, if I click on login, A is a hyperlink, hyper reference. It calls login.php. Create event calls create event.php. Sign up, it calls sign up event.php, and we'll go through each of these. Okay, so that's a very simple navigation with a list type of navigation. Now, if you didn't want it to have like this and you want it on the horizontal, you can even try that without a UL. You can just write each one of these with a space, and then these will be in horizontal on the top here. So different ways to do the thing. That's header. Now, if I'm going too fast or if you have questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question. Because today is the last class actually, but if you have questions, feel free to send me a question on that WhatsApp channel. But the reason I'm saying is feel free to ask now because we may not have like a one-on-one class like that, right? Okay, so that's the header. I mentioned we will talk about footer. So there is a footer. Now, if you see in the header, we closed that main, and we didn't close the main with a slash, right? So that happens in the footer. The main gets closed because below, within the main, we are going to put the body of this website. Then we have a footer. Again, HTML footer should close by footer. And here you can write whatever you want, right? So in this case, we are just saying, so this is a tag for making a copyright symbol. So if it's your website, you can put a copyright, whatever else you want, and P is a paragraph. Again, when we open something, we have to close it with a /P. And since in header, we opened the HTML and body, we are closing that in the footer as /body and /HTML. Okay, so that's your footer. Now within header and footer, we need to put our code. But just before that, we also have a styles.css that provides us some coloring, background image, spaces, etc. Any of those, right? So that's called .css file. You can name it whatever you want, but the extension should be .css, cascading style sheets. And for this, I sent you a link a couple days back. So that's something maybe you can look at and try to learn, or send me if you have any questions. What cascading style sheets does is it lets you style each area of your website. So for example, here we are styling the body of the website. Here we are styling the header of the website. If you remember from header, we had a navigation here, right? Nav. We can style that navigation. And so within navigation, the UL and the LI, right? If we go back to header, within navigation, we had a UL and an LI list. Each one of these can be styled with a different color, margin, whatever you want. Right? So that's what this is doing. So, but let's go through one of them. So body, I'm saying I want Arial and serif as the font. You can change this to whatever you want, and then body. Then you don't have to make each page to have or tell each page what family or color you what font family or color you want. You just put it in the style sheet and include that style sheet in each of your PHP page, and I'll show that to you later. But this is where centrally we are telling how our body of the website should look, what font it should use, what is the margin from the left-hand side, what is the padding, and what's the background color, etc. So you can play around with these things in your website and have a different color, different padding, margin, etc. So like this 0, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. These are called hex colors. You can even put a color here, so you can say blue, red, etc. But a hex color is what computer understands behind the scenes. So you can look, Google hex colors. What I'm saying is HEX. Okay, hex colors, color code. So if you search Google for this, it will give you this color code for every color. And maybe you already know about that, but that's the color. So that's body. There are many other, if you use that CSS link, there are many other things you can change for that page. Similarly, a header has background color, color, padding, etc. Now you know for each one of that, you can make the changes. Okay. Even the form. So we are going to create a form here. Let me actually click on register here so that you can see a form. A form is where we can allow user to enter something and click on submit button, right? So that form, how should it look? What should it be? Color of text, email, password, all of those you can handle in here. How should the submit button be? What color it should be? All of that. Similarly, footer, you can style it based on what colors you want. Okay. So this is generally a good practice to do it in a central file called styles.css. You can, like I said, you can name it whatever, but it should end by with .css. So now let's start with the first page, which is registering, right? I think that's the one. So we've created, for register, we have created a page called register.php. So now the PHP code starts. So in here, we actually have both HTML and PHP. And we learned this in, I think, second session last Saturday on how to write PHP within a HTML page. It should be saved as .php. To start PHP, you should have question less than sign question mark PHP, and it should always close with question mark greater than sign. Right? Additionally, in that page, you can write any HTML. So here, I think I had asked in one of our last session for you to as a homework to look at form. Right? So we are going to create a form, but this is HTML, this is PHP. Okay? So we are going to create a form which has name, email, and password. So you see name, email, password, and these are input types. Okay, and then we'll have a button called submit, which is, we are calling it register, but you can call it anything as you want. So this is the body. We are including on the top database.php, which is our connection. We created this last week. In the db.php, we gave the server name. This would be a different for you, right? Your username would be different. You will have a password. You'll have a database name. So when I send these files to you in chat today, you have to make sure that you are using your server name, username, password, etc. You make the connection. Let's come back to register. And we are including, because we did it in centrally in db.php, including meaning just bring that page into here. Similarly, we are including the header.php. So this would show up in the register page. Now, what we are doing here is when the user clicks on register, it calls register.php on submit, the form. When it submits, it calls the same page again. When it calls the same page again, it takes this into account and writes into the database. So it's, I think we talked about in the second session, variables in PHP, right? Dollar variable, that's what we use. So now we need 3 variables. We need name, email, and password. So that's what we are getting in these 3 variables. And then we are going to create an insert statement. We learned this in second session, how to insert into a table. Sorry. Right, so we are going to insert in users table, name, email, and password. The values are what the user entered. Once we insert it, we'll give the user a message that your registration was successful. If there is an error, if your database connection is wrong or something, you'll get this error. Any questions on this one? If the first one you understand, then others will be easy when we go through all others. So let me just take one more minute to again walk through this one. We are writing a PHP, we are doing an HTML, and we are including whatever needed using PHP here. So at the end, we are also including footer.php. But within PHP, we are first making the database connection, which is our another file. We are writing the header, which we created in a separate file. We are performing the action, and we are showing the user a form. This is in HTML. When the user clicks on submit, it actually calls the same file and it performs this action. It takes user's input and inserts into the database. Okay, so let's try this one. So we are in register.php. It's asking me my name. So vijayshwanya@gmail.com. And I'm going to give a password as ABCD1234. Okay, so I have entered these 3 things. This would go in the user table. So let's go back to our PHP, make sure our users table is here. And right now I have 3 records in here, test user, VV, etc. Right? But now I'm creating a new record with gmail.com. When I click on register here, it gave me that registration successful. And if you look at that code, it actually came here and it gave me this registration successful. Okay, if we go back into our database, and I go back to my users table again, I should have 4th record, which is this one. Okay, and you see the ID gets added every time a new ID because that's a primary key. Make sense? Okay, so once the user has registered, a new volunteer has registered, we are asking them to log in. Okay, so in the login, they'll give their email and password. So let's go back to our code for login. I don't have it here. Let me bring it. The login code. So I'm in Notepad here, right? Now, if you see, like I said, if you understood the first PHP, the other PHPs are very simple, right? They are doing the same thing. I'm in the login.php. I'm first making my DB connection, database connection, and I'm also doing the header.php, which we did in register. Then I'm doing some processing here, and I also have a form and then a footer at the bottom. In the form this time changed. So in this case, I want to log in the user. I want to ask them to give their email address and password, right? And then in the submit button, we had register earlier. This time we are saying login. Once the user enters all this and they click on login, it calls the same file and it does the processing here. This is PHP, which goes in the backend and does the processing. It takes the user's email and password, and this time it's making a select statement, right? Select statement from users where email address is what the user has just entered. And we looked at select statement last session, so you should know what a select statement does, right? If the result from this select statement is greater than 0, right? Then it says, okay, everything looks good, your login is successful. If I have entered wrong password, it will say your password is invalid. Or if I've given a wrong email address, it will say no user found with that email. So you can play around with this once I'll send you this code, you write it, and then you can give a wrong email address or a wrong password and see all of this working. For now, the login is there, so I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in as the user I just created, right? My email address. Oh, And then it's asking password, which was ABCD1234, I believe. And I log in. And something happening. Oh, it's still trying. I think if you see on the top here, I know I have a database connection issue or my internet is still working. Any questions while this is doing its work? Not okay. Let me try this again. I don't know why it's not working. Go back to login. Before and login successful. I know something happened in the last. If you see this login successful, now I'm logged in. If we go back to our code, this is where we are. If I had given a wrong email or password, it would either come here or come here. Okay, so that was login. We also want maybe an administrator to be able to create a new event, right? So let's look at create event. The create event is asking for an event name, event date, event time, location, etc. So let's look at that code. Oops, sorry. Create. I don't have it here. Create event. Okay, like I said, it should be simpler now because we know what is happening in each one of these. We are including our database. We are including our header, which is this. We are also including our footer, which is this, right? In between, we have a form. In this case, the form is asking me for an event name, date, time, location, etc. And the button is saying create event. Once I enter all of that, it does the processing here. It takes what was entered by the user, takes all of that, and in this case, it inserts into events table the values which were just entered by the user, and if it adds it, then it creates it says event created successfully. Otherwise, it will give an error. So in the second one, we should see a new event. So if we go back to our database, events table, right now I have, let's say, 4 events, right? So when we create a new event, it should do that. So let's say event is, this time I'm gonna call Janmashtami, right? I think it's sometime in August. I don't remember exact date, but let's say here, and let's say the time is 8 p.m. Okay, and location is Ravani Temple, and description is Mashtami program at Temple. Okay, so now I have entered all this. If you go back to our code, this is where we are. We just entered everything. And now we are going to click on submit, which is create event. And at that point, it's going to do the backend stuff and insert a new event here. When I click create event, it says event created successfully. We go back into our database and look at the events table, refresh this. So we should have a new event. And you see the next ID, it picked the new ID and it created the new event. Okay, let's go back to, so we've registered, we've logged in, we've created a new event. The last thing is a new user wants to sign up for that event, right? Or new volunteer needs to sign up because we need to know how many volunteers are coming to that event or helping in that event, right? So let's see the sign up or register sign up sign up event. Okay, let me make this smaller here. So again, very similar thing. We have our PHP. We are including the database. Now I added a session.start. This is basically once the user has logged in, we don't want the user to log in again. And in PHP, there is a session that gets created every time a user logs in. And these sessions are useful to maintain, to make sure you don't ask user to keep logging in again and again. So again, you can read about this in your PHP book or the link I sent you. That was something new in here, but otherwise we have DB and we have header.php. Here is the form. Now, a little bit different in this form is we are first selecting a list of all the events, okay? Because we need to show the user what events are there so that they can select one of the events and then sign up. The way that is done is through our select statement, select everything from the events. And then in the form, there is one of the HTML is a drop down, right? That is called select. And again, in either through your book or maybe the link I sent you, you can look at form. There are different types of form things. In this, we are not adding an input. We are giving a drop down attribute. And it actually gets the data from the events table and writes an option for that data. We selected data, and for each row, we are giving the event name here. And always, if you see option has to be closed by option, select has to be closed by select and so on. Right? That's our HTML which we learned. In this case, the data is coming from the table, showing the data in here. And then when I click on the submit, in this case, I'm calling the submit as sign up. When I click on this, it's going to go do the processing in here. And what the processing in this time is inserting into the third table we created, volunteer signups. To say Vijay, who logged in, has selected one of these events. I'm going to select Janmashtami. So that's what it's doing, user ID and event ID. It's adding that data into the volunteer signups table. Okay, so let's select this and we say, let's first go to that table, make sure you see. So our third table was volunteer signups. So one thing you would see, there is a user ID and event ID. It's not saying Vijay here, right? Actually, let's first run it and then I'll walk you through. If I click on this and sign up, so signed up successfully, come back here. So we had 4 records. We should have a 5th one right here, right? So 5th record. If you see here, this is where, if you remember in second session, we talked about foreign keys, right? It's saying a user ID 12 has registered for event ID 5 instead of saying Vijay and Janmashtami here, right? And that's what the foreign key is. If we see user ID 12, we can go to user table here, and 12 is Vijay. That's the concept of primary key and foreign keys. Similarly, we saw 5 as the event ID. So if we go to events, 5 is Janmashtami. The use of this is, if we go back here, if we had here, let's say Vijay and Janmashtami, let's say at some point I want to change the name of Janmashtami to something else or change my name to something else, right? Then we have to update the users table, events table, and this table also. There's no need to update this table because this is a foreign key to the other 2 tables. Is that concept clear? That's very important when you start writing more complex websites, that a foreign key should be mapped to the primary key of other tables. Okay, so let's go back to our volunteer. So now we were able to register, log in, we were able to create an event and sign up for the event. That's very basic volunteer management system. I'll send you the code. We'll you'll add that code into your file manager and we'll make sure all of this works rest of the time today. But in addition to that, you can make any kind of changes. Now that you know the basics of it, you can create more tables. Let's say in the select event, right? Instead of just saying Janmashtami, you can even put the whole information about this in your program. You can say Janmashtami on which date, what time, etc., etc. You can add all of that using your form. Similarly, when you're registering, instead of just name, email, password, you can add in your program maybe date of birth or the skills of the user and so on. So anything is possible once you understand these basic concepts. Okay. Questions? No? Okay. So let me send these files to you. Copy those files onto your website. Make sure in the db.php, in db.php, make sure you are putting your server name, your username, password, and DB name. Rest all of them are good. So, but let me send one at a time. So, okay, this is the db.php. You guys are following all the steps, right? What I can just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So copy this, create a db.php file. Pri, do you have the database created or you don't have that? Like this?
Yeah, I have that created.
Okay, okay. Then you should be able to follow this. So yeah, copy this into a db.php file. Next, I'm going to send you header.php. So let me keep closing these also. The second one is header.php. Okay. Okay. Third one is footer.php. Fourth is styles.css. Make sure when you save it as .css. Oh, maybe it's not going to allow me because the size is too big. Let's make it smaller. We don't need to put everything in your styles.css. So make sure you copy it as styles.css. Then, are these done? I'll wait for you guys to catch up. Let me know when done. How are we doing, Sanu?
I'm doing styles.css right now.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, good. How about you, Pari?
I'm done.
Fine. Okay, good. So till now we copied header, database. That was your connection. Make sure you update these with your database values. And then we copied header, footer, and styles.css, right? Those were 4 files. Now I'll send you the 4 files for this, and then we'll copy all of them onto your website, and then that should work. Let's start with register.php. So this is register. Okay, hopefully you're done. Let me do login. So this next one is login.php. Okay, create event. Okay, so this one looks like is a little bigger. So I'm going to, still bigger. So let me send it in two steps, okay? First the PHP part and second the HTML, but everything should go under create event.php. And the create event is actually create underscore event, right? So the name is like this, create underscore event.php. If you rename it something different, you have to just make sure in your form you call it correctly. But let me send it in 2 steps. So first copy this part and then copy this second part. And I'll wait before I send the next one. Make sure you guys catch it. Let's check again. How are you doing, Sunday?
I'm just doing the last one right now.
Okay. And Pari?
I'm on the last one.
Doing last one. Okay. On the last one, make sure 2 of them copy on the same file, create event.php.
I'm done.
Okay. Sorry, let me know when you are done.
Done.
Okay, good. So the last one is sign up event, and again the name is like this: sign up underscore event.php. Let me send it to you. So copy this, create the file as sign up underscore event.php. Okay, once you're done, go back to your Infinity Free website, go to Home, and click on File Manager. I'll actually wait for you guys to finish. Let me know when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay. Harry, also let me know. You done, Harry?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I was showing you on my Zoom here. Go to your website. Go to File Manager. Click on htdocs. And on the left-hand side here, there is an upload file. You would upload each of your files, db.php, header, footer, styles, and the 4.php files, login, register, create event, and sign up event. All of them you should upload one by one, and your structure should look like this. Let me know when done.
I'm done.
Okay. So you can actually then go to your website and maybe slash and start with register.php, and you can play around with your code. Let me know if you see any errors.
Is the style sheet not working on yours? Because for me, mine just looks different.
Okay, let me stop share. Show me what you're seeing. Oh, okay. Did we, maybe I forgot to include style sheet. Did you include the style sheet
Yeah, I did.
in your
Maybe
code?
maybe you didn't like
Okay.
download it.
Okay, okay. Fine. Good catch. Let me see. Yeah, you're right. Styles.css is not there. Hmm. Yeah, for some reason I have to see why it's not. But yours looks much. Can you show again? Sorry, are you showing? Okay, can you share your screen again? Okay, good, good. So that's looking much cleaner. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think he just
Yeah,
forgot to
probably
put it into the file manager.
in the code. It is there. I don't know. Are you using Chrome or
Yeah, I'm just using Chrome.
Mozilla? Chrome. Okay. Let me see. That could be another issue. Yeah, I think that's the issue. On Chrome, it's showing. So probably Mozilla has some issue. We may need to troubleshoot that. So Pari, for you also, once you copy all the files, maybe open on Chrome, and you'll see a much nicer style sheet. Here is my Zoom. Okay, so on Chrome, it should look like this, which is what I think Sanvi, you also. Are you able to create, register? The data is going in your database?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. So all the functionality working, Sanvi, in yours? You were able to create event and everything?
Yeah, I was.
Okay, good. And also sign up for one of the events, right?
I'm trying that one right now.
Okay, okay. How about you, Pari? Where are you?
I'm on the create event.
Okay.
Okay, they all work for me.
Okay. So let me make 1 second. Okay. So do you have any questions, Andy, on
No, I
the
don't.
overall? Okay.
Not really.
And okay, did you learn anything? Is something
Yeah,
you
I
knew?
did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's wait for a couple minutes at catch up, and then this last point I want to explain to you guys. Sorry, I see you are unmuted. Are you saying something? Maybe I didn't hear it.
Login.
Okay. Are you able to do everything here?
Yes.
And all of it's going in the database, right? No issues.
No issue.
Okay. Okay. So you guys, both of you are smart. I was thinking there may be some errors in the database. It looks like you understood what needs to be done in changing the db.php and make sure everything is correct, so no errors showed. And Sanvi, also good that you figured out between Chrome and Mozilla there is some CSS issues. Could be a cache issue also. So I think I'm sharing my screen. So yeah, overall I think we did these 3 sessions. Just to recap, where we tried to look at why hosting is needed, because we need to have HTML and a server-side PHP. You can use any other tools also, but most websites, if you are creating websites, they are created in WordPress, and WordPress uses PHP and MySQL. And it's good to have those skills. MySQL also is a database, which is a free database. And most websites hostings should give you PHP, MySQL, and HTML and WordPress. We also learned about how to create databases, tables, insert, select statements, and then we created this system here, right, using HTML and PHP. Now, some of the things you can do based on this is you can have other menu items. You can have, let's say, like I showed you in register, you can have more columns. If you add more attributes here, you have to update your database table, make sure that can handle it. You can change colors, etc., or anything in here. So it's up to you now how good you want to, or how much enhancement you want to give to your system, and be able to use that. But it's similar to volunteer management. You can now have any other management system in your school. So let's say you have a club you are starting, maybe in your high school. You can create a website for them where you can have people register for the club. you can create your events, you sign up, etc. Right? So the possibilities based on these basic learning are endless. You can create whichever kind of systems you want. And the last thing, yeah, if you do add and if you have any questions, please feel free to ping me on that WhatsApp channel. I'll keep that channel still open. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's all I have. Anything, any last questions from both of you? Okay, if not, then thank you for attending and a good weekend, and feel free to reach out. Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, bye.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye.